Buying your first home is very tough, and if you need to do it by yourself, it can get even tougher. So we've got someone here on the channel who is going to explain exactly what he was going through, what his thoughts were before he purchased a property. And now it's been 12 months since holding the property, so we're going to go through the exact numbers of how it's performed and some of the key learnings Rohit has had as well in owning a property for the first time. So with that, if you're interested, definitely keep watching. Guys, welcome Rohit onto the channel. How are you, mate?
I'm great. Thank you, Ravi. Thank you for having me.
No, that's all right. I always find these conversations really interesting because I want to know, what you were thinking before you came across some random dude on YouTube and what prompted you to actually reach out and whatnot. So before we jump into the juicy part of the numbers and how your property's performed, let's find out a little bit more about you. So what do you do professionally and, what takes up most of your time?
Cool. So for work, I work in tech. I'm a software engineer. I've been doing that for about 4 years now. And in my spare time, I play soccer, just go to the gym, just trying to keep fit.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so walk me through how you find my face on YouTube. What were you searching for at that time? Where was your headspace at?
Yeah, so it's probably during COVID, not at the start of COVID, not in 2020, but I got my job that I'm in right now at the start of 2021.
Okay.
So that's when I got my proper income. I was working at Woolies and stuff before that.
For context, how old are you, Rohit?
I'm 24 now.
24, and we purchased this when you were 23.
23.
Yeah,
yes.
amazing. All right, continue.
So so I knew I was going to get a lot of disposable income, especially because there was literally nowhere to spend it while I was sitting at home. And naturally, most of my time would be spent on YouTube. I'd get a lot of, most of my video recommendations would be personal finance, would be self-help and all that. It was probably the first time I got into shares as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I started for all of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a lot of mistakes. Overall, I could say I lost about 10K till now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of mistakes. Just because I just trusted random faces on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably saw you in 2021 at the start while I followed a lot more other YouTubers.
Mm-hmm.
And just been listening to your videos since then. And then when did I buy? Last year, 2023, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you could say it's a good 2.5 years of listening to you before I even pulled the trigger. I saw all your whiteboard sessions, started to make sense. I understood, took all the knowledge in, but I still thought I could maybe do it myself. I lived in Parramatta at the time, so I wanted to buy a first home.
Yes.
I was looking along the train line, I went Westmead, Pendo Hill, went with all those areas. I even went to some inspections. I looked into all the grants that I could get, the first home grants and stuff. But I was walking into all these apartments in Wentworth and stuff. I did not like that. I didn't want to live there as well.
So the idea was that you were going to purchase a place just so you could get the grants and then essentially you would move out and use it as an investment?
Yeah, I'd live there for the 1 year.
Yep.
And then move out because my parents were building at the time too. So it would be 1 year before we could move into their property.
Yep.
So it'd be I purchased this, we all move in together,
Mm-hmm.
and then I could move into my parents' house once it's completed, and I can use that as an investment property.
Mm-hmm.
But everything I was seeing, apartments for 600K, and I'd be so negatively geared. In the end, I just realized it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
I was losing hope at the point. And then I think one night, I know I've been following your content for so long, so I just booked in that discovery call, and then, that's how it started.
Yeah, wow. So how did you find your parents took the information? Because obviously, you're on this page of, okay, I want to buy a property that I can feel and see, and it's going to be my own place. Instead, you're saying, I'm going to listen to some guy I've been watching on YouTube and I'm going to pay him a fee and buy a property. How did they take it?
Honestly, I didn't tell them all this stuff. Yeah, I didn't tell them. I mean, they came to the inspections with me along the train line.
Okay.
And they said, oh, they like this, they like that. There was actually one that apartments that were being built. It was a duplex apartment. I fell in love with it, but it was in Toongabbie. Not the best area, but the apartment was good.
Yeah.
They were asking for 650K. but to get the grant, I needed to be under 600. So thank God, like they never like came to my budget.
Yeah.
Because I would have purchased it right there and then.
Right.
And like my parents were a big influence in that as well. Like they thought it'd be good for them and like as a family to move into this and then move into the family home and then use it as an investment. And then, like I said, one night I just booked in the discovery call. They weren't involved in that decision. I told them like a month in, I'm buying this property.
What was the thoughts around at that point? Because they've gone, you were always going to purchase a unit here.
Yeah.
Now you're telling me it's some random house in a suburb I've probably never heard of. So how did you break it down to them?
We didn't have that big of a conversation. I never sat down with them and talked about it or anything. I'm just saying, okay, look, I'm buying this place. It's going to be for this much. And they had like a few doubts. I just said, oh, don't worry about it. Because they haven't owned property, so like here in Australia at least. So I didn't think they had the knowledge as well. So I didn't want to get their input as much.
Yeah, that's an important point you make, because unfortunately sometimes we get caught up in getting the advice from people that may not be involved in the right things. It's like you asking me about, certain stocks, and I'd be like, well, I don't think you should do it because you should buy property. But then the reality is, because I'm not involved in that, I'm not going to know the intricate details of what the returns could look like. So it was a smart decision on your front to be able to do that. Now, what would be really interesting as well, and we can find out what that property would have been. So if how we've always got this world where it's like there is no alternative, the road we take is the road we take. It'd be really interesting now as well to see that property you could have purchased. Say it was for 650, and you got the grant and you went ahead with that. What that would be worth today? Have you ever kept on tabs of like on top of how much it's worth now, or not really?
No.
All right, so we'll check that out. That'd be a really fun exercise as well. And I guess we can do that. We can do that after we go through your property first. All right. Cool. So you've gone, I'm not going to get the first homeowner grants. Because I'm more interested in just building the wealth. I want to get into property. And so instead of spending 600K, we ended up finding something for 425. And it wasn't a unit. It was actually a 4-bedroom house on about 500 square meters of land, which is really nice. It's also quite new, 2013, so about 10 years at the time you had bought it. Did you end up getting a depreciation schedule as well?
Yes, I did for my recent tax.
Perfect. So that would have helped as well. I'm not going to get you involved in telling me how much of a benefit, because that's what the tax man does. And so at the time it was renting, how much was it renting for? Do you remember? $450. And has that increased now? Because you're probably in for a review now, right?
So it increased at the start of the year. So I only held it for a month, and it increased already to 510.
Amazing. Okay, because that's what I've got here.
And at the end of this year, we'll do another review for another increase, hopefully.
And I think based on comparables that I'm seeing, it's probably going to go up to anywhere between 530 and 550, which is really nice. Gives you that strong cash flow. Now, for this deal, did you put in the 10%?
12%.
12%, perfect. Okay, I like that. And so in the 12 months you've held it, because we're shooting this in October of 2024, how much do you think roughly it's worth? Is it something that you keep on top of?
Yes. So I did refinance probably 2 months ago. I just wanted a new loan product with an offset account.
Nice.
And when I did the refinancing, they just did a quick paper valuation.
And when was this?
Probably 2-3 months ago.
Okay.
And they said 470, but it was a paper valuation. No one really went.
Okay. And how much do you think gut feel wise it's worth now?
Like I was looking at properties on my street and that suburb. Like I think it's a good 500. Like I've seen smaller houses and on smaller blocks of land around that price. So around
amazing.
500.
Well, you're right on the money. I've got here about 510 is probably what it's worth. So if we are now to dive into the numbers a little bit more, in the first year of owning that property, we probably promised you that, we told you a guide that maybe it's going to grow between 7 and 10%, which would be really nice. So it's done 20% in the first year, which works out to be $85,000 of tax-free equity, which is nice. And that works out to be, and these are the numbers that like blow my mind, is it works out to be almost $7,100 per month that you make from that property. So imagine just going, okay, I'm going to put in the deposit. 12% on that would have looked like maybe $48,000, somewhere along those lines, plus all of your costs. And if you're in your first year making $85,000, it seems like an absolute no-brainer. Now, obviously, looking in hindsight. And so now if you calculate how much equity there's in that property, you probably have enough to or make up a large portion of your next deposit plus fees. How does that make you feel, like knowing that you took that risk to go down that path, you took accountability? Because ultimately, yes, we can help you with it, but it was your money, you saved that money, and now you've taken that risk. How does it make you feel when the results have come out that way?
I'm honestly so thrilled to have probably booked in that discovery call one random night. I know, like you preach, you're just trying to stop people from making a mistake with their first property. And I know after making a lot of mistakes with stocks, that I've definitely avoided a big mistake and instead got a tremendous result out of it. That 85,000 kind of worth of equity, I probably can't even save that in 3-4 years. So, yeah.
It's amazing. And you're right, like 85K tax-free means you're probably having to make like 140 to just save that 100% of it, which isn't happening because obviously you got to pay for everything else. So, it is a couple of years worth of savings that you can make. And the good thing is that, so this property, if I hadn't mentioned it already, was in regional Queensland. And with what I'm seeing on the ground over there and all the metrics we're looking at, it doesn't look like it's going to slow down anytime soon. So it sort of sets you up really nicely as a foundational property in your portfolio. What's the plan now? Like, is it to purchase more? Is it to hold? Walk me through it.
I'm going to purchase my second one. Like Jono, who works in your team, reached out earlier. He gave me the results earlier as well. So I have a call with him pretty much after this.
Yeah, nice.
So I'm ready to get the second one.
Yeah, perfect. I think getting into the market is one thing, especially at your age, being 23, now 24, to be able to build a portfolio, even if it's just 2 properties or 3 properties, by the time you get to like my age, which is 32, you're now going to realize, oh my God, I'm so glad I made those little moves back then, which seems little. You're putting 50K, okay, I'm allocating it. At the time feels like the world because it's all your savings. But you're like, oh, how's this one property going to get me to financial freedom? And once you've got that foundation, the machine's building, and you're like, I did a lot in the 10 years. And at the age of 30 or 35, you might be thinking about, okay, I want to buy my own place. Now you have so much choice. You can sell some of the property, you could take out some equity, do some stuff, and it's just really exciting. You've been involved in shares and now you've been involved in property. For you, has there been a difference between how you approach both? With the shares, are you still following people on YouTube, or are you sort of doing your own thing, or are you not in shares at all?
Shares, I just have a very simple approach. Just put in 500 a month into ETFs. Very stress-free now. Before it was like random stocks. I was in like all the buy now, pay later stocks, and that's where I lost my money. With property, I realized like the power of leverage. Even with with property, right, I know that with 10,000 I could leverage that to get a lot more return compared to what I can get with shares. I could definitely leverage and get shares, but it's just too risky for me. So with property, with the help of you, I also want to keep it stress-free and simple as possible. I'm not too fast, or I don't want to learn everything and want to do it all myself. I really loved all the help that I got when I purchased my first one with you guys. Recommending a good mortgage broker, a good legal team. They took care of everything. I want the same experience again with property going forward as well. And I also want to keep it stress-free, just like I do with shares now.
Yeah, and at that age, you're probably like, I don't want to sit there having to figure out, I'm going to speak to agents and do this.
Yeah, it's not worth it. I'd rather spend my time doing other stuff that I enjoy.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Well, we'll go to that activity. What I'm seeing is 2-bedroom apartments, and you said it was new in 2021, so it was getting built, right?
2023.
23. Okay, yes, that's right. So last year.
Yeah.
And so what I'm seeing here is some of the older ones are selling sort of 450, 500 in the suburb. But when I look at something that is new and it happened to be on the same street that you were looking at, that sold for a record price of 630,000 in September, so last month. And then if I look at a couple of the other units for 2 bedrooms, they're 550, 600, and that one's a larger apartment there. So it's safe to say that you're probably expecting that one of those properties that you did buy would have probably come back a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's mainly due to the fact that there's so much supply in those areas, and you've probably driven around there. Same thing with Wentworthville, Pendle Hill, Westmead as well. Such good locations in terms of geographically to like Parramatta and things. So it's quite central. But unfortunately, that mistake of going in because geographically it's located well, when you see how many apartments are actually there and how many are coming, it just doesn't make sense. So I guess knowing that, we've sort of gone through the path of what was the alternative investment. And I'm glad that you didn't make that decision, and I'm glad that you did call and reach out to us. So happy days.
Yeah, me too. So glad, honestly.
Now I guess it sets you up for the next one, and it'll be really interesting to see where the journey is in say 12 months time, and we might get you back on the channel for it. But I really appreciate your time, Roy, and it goes a long way into helping other people that might be sitting on their couch thinking the same thing you were as well. So I do appreciate it, and I know the audience does too. Cool. So thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Rob.
Now guys, if you have enjoyed a chat like this, I've got a playlist that I'm going to link down in the description box below. There you can find other people's stories that have gone through this. I think you can find it very relatable, a lot of value there for yourself, and it might be just the kick that you need to get started. So if you're interested in any of that content, I'll leave links in the description box below. And with that, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with someone else that might be thinking about these things as well. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks, guys.